Welcome to Interstellar Cosmic Conversations, where we share experiences from our hearts to empower others. Here we go. The one, the only Emma Stow. All right, that was for fun. I couldn't help it. I couldn't resist. Emma is the most amazing person, and thank you everyone for showing up on Interstellar Cosmic Conversations. Emma is the reason that I'm here today. She's an astrologer, an author, a healer, and she's just an incredible person. I mean, I love this lady. I mean, she's just like family to me. And I don't think I can put into words how much she means to me. I was a broken mess before I met Emma. And I didn't really understand how important it was to acknowledge my body. So many of us live in a love-hate relationship with who we are. And there's this common thing that goes around that's like, you're not your body. You're like this infinite being living in a meat suit, or, you know, experiencing the human being. And that's true. But at the same time, your body is a representation of what you're experiencing in this life. And so what I learned is that all of the things that I didn't feel good about myself, whether it was my looks or the way that I felt, my energy levels, any of that stuff, it was all going back to things that were unresolved with who I am, with my mother, with my children, with my spouse, with my friends. And everybody mute, please. Because I can hear it in the background. It's picking up. Yeah, just mute yourselves real quick. Gav, anonymous for now. Yeah, thank you. And so it was really important for me to acknowledge that in myself, and Emma helped me do that. And so that's why to me this is not even like, I do interviews and I have fun doing the interviews, but this for me is just like family coming together and just sharing. So I'm so happy to have you here, Emma. Gab, you can go back on video. You gotta mute yourself.
I'm so honored to be here, Patricia. Yeah, like you say, this is like a conversation because I feel we've both been such a essential part of each other's journey in a way over the last few years since we met. And there's something as a healer or as, let's say, soul support or sovereign support that when you offer that and someone accepts or receives and actually applies it to the extent that you did and do, it's very inspiring to witness that. And so it's been, and there's a mutual aspect to healing, which I know that you know about, that there's something very sacred about that relationship and how the person healed mirrors that in the healer. And then that is a very special relationship. So it's been incredible to watch you step into your power, step free from so many things that were holding you back before. And it's an absolute delight to be here today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, it's just been incredible. You have, a lot of people will say to me, well, Patricia, you have a healing quality in your vibration and when you speak. And it's hard for me to know that myself. So I have to rely on what other people are sharing with me and how that affects them. And I would say the same with me towards you. It's like you offer when you speak, it's very healing to me. Just your presence is very healing. I used to dread talking to her because I was like, if I talk to Emma, there's no doubt I'm going to be crying. Like, I'm just going to it's like, I just know. Cry. So,
not just because I was horrible to you, though.
No, because you were the first person that really saw me and knew who I was, and I'd never experienced anything like that. So I just felt like I could just feel. And that was something that was so foreign to me because I had bottled up feeling for so long. Like, I was a very feeling person. I'm a very kind, loving, gentle person, but that was hidden. It was like buried underneath everything that had gone on in my life. And so you brought that out of me. So I'm forever grateful for that. And so I feel like that's actually a really good thing to start talking about is why healing, listening to your body. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
And why listening to your body is so important.
I loved what you just said about that part of you was hidden to yourself. And the process of healing is really supporting someone to listen. So the body is a great place to start because you don't need to have great intuitive abilities or anything to listen to your body. You can just make a point of listening. You can actively listen to your body, and that immediately starts a process. Immediately, just actually listening, because as far as I'm concerned, healing itself is about listening. It's about the healer listening, and it's about the healer bringing the person's attention to, or supporting them to be able to listen. And there can be a lot of fear around actually simply listening, because there's fear of, well, what's it going to say? Sometimes if a body has been ignored for a long time, a heart has been ignored for a long time, it's overwhelming to listen, because there's a lot that hasn't been communicated that urgently wants to be communicated. And so as a healer, often when someone is really has no conscious understanding of healing itself, just the first thing I usually do is support them with relaxation. So many people don't know how to relax. So listening to the body is really one of the first ways we can do that is just by relaxing, making a conscious effort to relax. And then we are in a better position to be able to hear the body, to be able to feel our own body. So relaxation is a process of being safe enough to feel.
That, yes, safe is really important. Yeah. And what you said earlier, when you said you don't really want to hear it, because we judge ourselves. Yeah. There's a lot of, when we start to look at things that don't feel right within our body, we immediately go to judgment.
Yeah.
Critical.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's what happens that you get a pain, you get a physical pain, and all of a sudden that's just interpreted as something being wrong with you. So that's immediately, oh, why can't you work? You know, it's like, so there's immediately a judgment and a sort of conflict set up, and it's same with emotional pain. I mean, pain is often, that's our first response to it, to judge it because it's inconvenient, because we see it as getting in the way of what we really want to do. And all of a sudden we've got physical and emotional pain that's making it very hard for us to carry on like we're used to, or carry on like we want to, and we see it as inconvenient, so we just try and approach it like we would a car that needs fixing.
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, listening to the body is the beginning of turning around that attitude. That is, it's almost like our psychology. What I see it is, you know, I see my work very much as bringing into alignment every aspect of ourselves, our body, our heart, our soul, to our emotional body, our energetic body, to bring all these different aspects of ourselves into alignment, because that's actually how they're designed and that's how they operate. Every one of us operates beautifully in alignment in this way. But what happens is that our psychology sometimes works against what is actually perfectly designed.
Yeah.
So if we have a physical pain or something in the physical body, that is actually the body trying to communicate to us so that we can listen and support the body's process of actually restoring itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And healing itself, because the thing about the body is that the body knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
The body has its own yeah, I mean, the body has its own consciousness.
Yeah.
So the first thing you're doing by relaxing itself, you're actually giving the body permission, because as long as you're not relaxed, the body's in survival mode. It's like, and survival mode's like, which a lot of people's bodies are in survival mode. They're just running off adrenaline, like, you know, this. And so the first thing you do by relaxing is relieving the body from survival mode. And then the body, as soon as the body relaxes, it starts to restore itself. Mm-hmm. To balance. This is an incredible thing. This is an incredibly powerful thing. It's so simple. One thing everybody who's listening can do right now, just to relax your body.
Yeah.
Just give yourself permission to totally relax your body, and then you will feel that your energy starts shifting.
Yeah, and I remember when I first started talking with Emma, one of the things that she would always say is she would ask me a question, and I would respond, and she would say, no, not with your mind, but with your heart. And it was so funny because I could not do it with just my heart. I was so brain entrenched that when she would say from your heart, I'd be like, I mean, I felt like I was having to like go dig a grave or something, like bring it out, because I had been told so many times, your heart, you can't trust your heart. You can't trust your heart. You can't trust your heart. And so I learned to just shut that down and become totally, you know, come from a place of the brain only. Mm. And so it was really harsh for me to it was hard for me to go to my heart. And once I started going to my heart, then that's when all the emotions started coming up. And that's why I said, I dread talking to her, because I'm going to be crying the whole time, because I was starting to feel what had been, you know, put down for so long inside of me. Mm. And you did mention when you were talking about our soul, you said, you know, like what your body, your soul, and your mind earlier. There's confusion on spirit and soul for people. And I know that a lot of things is just terminology and we're kind of saying the same thing, but I would like for you, if you feel comfortable now, to go into like, what is the soul? And how does that relate to the body?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
And I just, in response to what you just said about how emotional it was for you to listen to your heart and your body, that's also a reason why people stay in the mental, and the mental and survival, because there's often a lot of unaddressed emotions. And so as soon as you relax, you start to feel that. And feelings don't just go away, you know, they actually accumulate. So we tend to get this kind of backlog of feelings, and then as soon as we relax, you can really see it in people that resist relaxation. And they as soon as they even try to relax, they start getting really emotional, and they quickly will go back into a mental and a sort of survival adrenaline state. But in answer to your question about the soul, what is it?
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
I need to finish one thing before we go there, because
I just thought that was really interesting what you were saying.
Well, it's really
important. I want to touch on that.
Yeah, it's really important that I share this for anyone listening, because the reason this was so significant is I had some people have heard this before, but I'm going to put it here because other people may not have. Emma and I had never met at this point. We had never physically met. We met back in 2015 in Florida. But prior to that, we were just communicating online, and we were having a conversation, and she asked me about my left side. And I felt really like, what the hell is going on? How does she know? Because this is something I had hidden. I had a cyst that was on my side that was about the size of a dime, like an American coin, a dime. And she could feel that. And literally what happened when she acknowledged that, overnight, the thing went from being the size of a dime to like the size of an orange or something. It was like this big on the side. And purple. It went purple. And the thing just started just gushing pus afterwards, because I didn't associate this trauma, that this was trauma in my body. I didn't even know where the cyst came from. I had never had an injury on my left side. Nothing had ever occurred. It just developed. And so I came to the realization later that for me, my intuition center is actually in the spleen. And you have your connection to your infinite being in your heart, but intuition in my body is in my spleen. And so it was just unhealed trauma with my mother, things going on with my daughter, and just things that needed to be healed. So when she brought that to my awareness, and I understood at that point, this was something that was related to all of the experiences that I had in this incarnation, that thing just blew up and exploded. I mean, it was a release. It was just this little thing. It was hard as a rock. All of a sudden, it was this big, pussy, gushy, purple thing, and it just exploded. And to me, I mean, there's nothing like your own experience to tell you, to show you what is. That no matter what anyone questions, if anyone questions you about anything, you have your own experience to know things. And that was my knowing, like, wow, okay, I got it. And so that was for me when I really became aware. That's how I knew she was spot on, and listen to my body. Pay attention to what's going on with my body. Anything, whatever it is. Sorry, I just had to add that in because that was so significant.
Oh God, I forgot about that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was really something else, wasn't it? Because it was such a powerful session. And then I remember you saying you had to go to the doctors the next day. So, and so much courage in your journey. And again, I really feel what we do for each other is being able, what they call holding space. But I think it's really about being able to know that somebody can trust you enough to be safe enough to feel. Well, because the healing, exactly what happened was that your body knew what to do. You were ready, because timing's a lot to do with it as well. But your body knew what to do. Our connection knew what to do. It's like we were holding that to unfold as it needed to, and your body was ready to release that. and so were you. So it was just us coming together at that time to hold that particular release, because that was what wanted to happen in the exchange.
Yeah.
And for me, this has been everything I've learned about healing. Has been, you know, from what I thought at the beginning, which I thought was about me doing stuff, to at this point where it's actually more about really supporting the body's consciousness, the soul's knowing, supporting the process itself energetically. Yeah. And that's almost the art of holding, stepping back, of supporting, and of safety, and creating safety and trust.
I agree 100%. That's to me what holding space is. When you are creating a space without judgment, with love, and allowing someone to just be who they are, and creating that safety. So you nailed that.
Yeah. And they know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what is soul?
Okay. What is soul? Soul is the unique, eternal, energetic signature that informs your incarnation, that informs your destiny, that is your divine nature, that is the conduit of universal life force into the body. Does that answer your question?
Well, I mean, yeah, that was, yeah. So what's the difference in spirit and soul?
So spirit for me is to do with the life force.
Okay.
I don't have, you know, it's to do with the distinctive life force that streams through the soul. So for me, the soul is like the interface between universal life force and the body. So the spirit is to do with the energetic signature, but I don't have, for me, I don't really connect much to spirit, only in as much as they're like life force itself. I also consider to be spirit. Okay.
I want to go to some of the Facebook questions really quick, because I know that I'll get caught up in our conversation and I'll forget this if I don't do that. So I want to respect those that could not be here that really had questions that they wanted you to answer. So I'm going to do that before I go anywhere else, because I have a lot of stuff that I could go into. Okay, so one of the questions, and I feel like this is really important for us to look at for Lisa. She said, Emma, would you be able to speak about how we develop our relationship with our own soul? Also, how do we repair this relationship? For me, I feel very resentful for this incarnation and have been angry at my soul for having to be here. I want nothing more than to forgive this and develop a trusting relationship with my soul. Thanks to you, I have begun the process. It's been the best thing that ever happened to me, but I want to go deeper. Thank you both for doing this. So she wants to know how to develop her relationship with her soul and how to avoid the resentment that she's feeling for this incarnation.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you can develop the relationship, because it's already exists as the best relationship you can ever have. It already exists. Huh?
But she's feeling resentment. So that's the real question.
Yeah. I'll get to that. But just to say, so it's not really about more. I wouldn't think of it as a way to develop it, more as in acknowledging what is already there. So the relationship is one of unconditional love. that your soul has for you, for all beings, for all life. It is just it's who you are. Your soul is your true identity, and it's an expression of love. The soul is energetically, it is love. So every single one of us has a very unique soul. The soul is the scale of a universe. Each one of our soul is the scale of a universe. So it is a universe. So it's actually energetically a universe, but it's tied to our physical body, and it informs the cellular functioning also of our physical body. So our bodies are expressions of our soul. And so this relationship is just, it is there already. So it's more one of, if we want to enjoy it more, which, hey, we've got the best relationship we could ever want already in our life, then we can almost, again, relax into it. And I think one thing that's really important is maybe making time to experience it, to actually, you know, either time or attention, because you could be going about your day, but maybe if you could shift your attention to that, to your soul, to what it's offering to you right now, to how it can support, how it's supporting you and guiding you, and how that love is or wants to be expressed through your experience. So you don't necessarily need a lot of time to do that. You could be on the bus, but it's about attention.
Thank you for the person that just joined. Thank you very much. But will you please mute your microphone just so there's no feedback, please?
Yeah. Okay. And okay. The repairing the relationship doesn't need repairing. It's more just trusting it deeper, knowing it deeper, being willing to experience that intimacy, that power. Because we're, you know, a lot of us are quite intimidated by our own power. Mm-hmm. The power of the soul, it's the scale of a universe, and it's a universe of love. So whenever anybody is faced with their own soul, they are hugely humbled and moved by that. Yeah. As are we when we experience the soul of another. So it's very humbling to experience it, and it's very empowering. So it's also getting used to the scale of your own soul and the miraculous signature of your soul, the divine aspect of your nature. So it's more like, how much are we willing to experience the love that's being offered to us from that soul connection?
When you said just a few minutes ago, and I don't know why it never hit me until just this moment, but it did, because I know this already, but it didn't hit me the same way until just now. When you were saying we're kind of scared of how magnificent we are, perhaps that comes from the amount of trauma that we've experienced, to where we feel so insignificant that to comprehend that we're that magnificent is really hard, because we are, you know, I've said this before, like, I don't understand why there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people listening to this, just to put it on a small scale. Like, I don't know who the hell Patricia Farrington is that 9 people want to come in and listen to this.
Yes, is that how you feel about it? Yeah.
See? Yeah. Like, why? I don't get it.
Yeah, I really get that. I think, and I think the biggest obstacle to experiencing your soul in the magnitude that is the reality of your soul is self-worth, because you know, people simply can't take that leap. It's like almost like, no, but or they assume that it's arrogant to see yourself in that light. So there's this whole mental process, and I know with my own journey and from what I've seen with others, it does take a bit of adjusting because it is a journey sometimes from thinking, oh, worthless little me, to really, really, really acknowledging what's going on there.
Yes.
Which is, and that is a process of letting go of self-worth, of low self-worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And that sort of keeps people very much in a limited self perspective, the lack of self-worth and trauma as well, which a lot of people can't trust themselves from that. Like you were saying, how can you trust your body when it's caused that much pain? How can you trust your heart when it's caused that much pain? So, but the point is that the way you access your soul is through feelings, through trust. Mm-hmm. And that is the essential relationship to yourself. Mm-hmm. It's this unconditional love that is the very template of who you are. And that is the soul, the relationship that the soul has with you, have this with all aspects of you, your personality, your body, your emotions, everything is in a very powerfully unconditional relationship that wants nothing more than for you to thrive, that wants nothing more for you to express this limitless possibility that you have in this incarnation. I mean, it's a really extraordinary thing. And I'm just saying to everybody listening, you know, just try this out for yourself. You just keep asking yourself the question, or you can even ask yourself, show me who I am. Mm-hmm. You know, you and relax into your body, and the process is one of really being able to take on board. I think it's like taking on board who you are, and I think that is in a way that for me has been what my, say, spiritual discipline has been about. It's been more about how much am I really willing to take on board the truth of my nature. And I'm still, my main inquiry is about humanity and what that really means and who we really are, and why we're here. And the more you look into these questions, the more you are faced with the reality of your soul, and it can be very daunting to come across the magnitude of that, like you said, the magnificence of that. You know, because there's a lot of understandable resistance to that too, because it really you have a very unique path to walk, and when you're faced with that, it does make huge changes to your life. Mm-hmm. And
because you take ownership, all of a sudden now you're not a victim, you're not a consequence, you are the creator of your reality. And that's
because it's also about taking responsibility, because you can't be a victim anymore with that when you actually acknowledge that you have limitless power,
right?
Because you're omnipotent, right? So because you know that aspect of us is divine. Mm-hmm. So when we really take stock that we have limitless power, we actually have to take responsibility for that. Mm-hmm. So that's very different from feeling like that life is against us and that we're victims of abuse and all of this, which we are as well. But the point is that we have it within. It is within our power to be free.
Yes. And so, like, one of the things that it's really harsh, because to step into your magnificence and to understand that you're omnipotent and that you're infinite and you're divine, it's a conflict with what feels like the good versus evil, the drama that's in this arena. And so that's a conflict for many, for most. So what I always say to people, and it's like when I say this and they kind of get it, but there's no question, but I'm like, look, you act like you don't like bad things. You act like you don't want to experience bad things, but you'll watch a horror movie. You go into a freaking haunted house in pitch black, and you'll let all these people touch your body and make you scream and run around in darkness. We do all these crazy things. Well, we're thrill seekers. We are thrill seekers. We want to be challenged. We want to go outside of our comfort zones. And sometimes we don't want to go outside of our comfort zone. So there's all this stuff going on at once. But if we really are truthful to ourselves, we have a dark side. We enjoy that dark side of ourselves as much as we enjoy the light side of ourselves. So let's just be honest instead of pretending. Let's just be honest. Let's own it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That to be honest with ourselves. In fact, emotional honesty is a hugely liberating quality, and it's very, very empowering. And we need to acknowledge the dark aspects of ourselves as much as we need to acknowledge the light. See, some people are better than at one than at others, and that's when you get the, because if you're just focused on the light, what happens, the darkness within is like, just kind of takes over in a really unconscious way, and then if you're totally into the darkness, then you're really, you're missing out on some really extraordinary experiences, because you're just telling yourself that that's all that life is. So it's when we, and this is something that I do my best to live with, as in, well, okay, this is the worst feeling you could have that you really don't necessarily want to own, but okay, that's actually, if I'm to be honest with myself, that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And that is presenting itself into my experience for me to consciously engage with. And then on the other side of that, how much love can I take that's being offered from me? And how many opportunities as well am I willing to create? How much of, my soul's magnificence am I willing to step into to share with the world? And you've got these two things happening at the same time. You've got a whole heap of, as a sensitive being, of like really deep emotional processing to be engaging with in so that we aren't constantly held by denial and avoidance, essentially. And at the same time, that we're not just stuck in a healing modality of like, oh, I've got another thing to heal and another thing and another thing to heal, when actually the reality is you're already there. You're not like a project to be. You're not like something that needs fixing, right? You're actually a work of art that's complete.
Thank you. Thank you. Because that's what I figured out. Like, it was so interesting because I knew that I didn't have to be healed necessarily, because I use the word healing because people relate to it. I just knew that my attention needed to be brought into the awareness. And so then I figured out, like, when I was speaking with other people, I was like, wow, people are just addicted to healing.
Yeah. I mean, they can be, and emotional processing. I mean, you see people, they go to therapy for like decades.
No, that's what somebody will say, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm like, 25 years? I'd be crazy.
And I sometimes think, what are you doing there for 25 years?
If it's 25 years, it's not working.
I'm just thinking, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing that I, with my own journey, was that with astrology as well, that people were, even people that I learned from were telling me certain things. And I was right away, look, I don't want to know how many dimensions there are in the universe. I don't want to know what this particular constellation relates to, because I was like studying esoteric astrology, and I said, what I want to know is what works. What I want to know is what works. And actually what taught me that was when I started working, right away in the sessions, because I was right, this is what people are looking for. They're looking for connection. They're looking for this connection ultimately to their soul. They're looking for connection to the universe. They're looking for the connection, to be able to experience themselves as God directly. They're looking for that. They're looking for that level of freedom, and they know it's available to them somewhere in them. They know that that's a possibility for them. And how can you support that experience? So for me, it was like, right, just getting to the bottom line of it instead of, so I wasn't actually that interested in all the information, though it was really fascinating, and a lot of it, you know, serves me very well now in many ways, that it comes back. But I just wanted to know right away what works. And I, you know, I think cognitive therapy can work, but it's just sometimes we need to get into the body. No, because we need to experience stuff. We can't just talk about our problems. Sometimes just talking about them isn't really going to empower us to experience ourselves in a more liberated way.
No, you're right on. Because when you said, like, well, Patricia, I like the way that you just went right in. Well,
Yeah.
it's exactly what you just said. I didn't want this to be some, you know, decade process. I wanted to get in and get it done.
I know you were so ready. You're like, come on, let's do this.
I wanted to go there. I wanted to feel the person that I am, the person that people kept telling me that I was. Like someone would say, well, do you know you're very intimidating? I'm like, I'm intimidating? Do you know that you're very, you have a very enormous presence or something? I'm like, I do? Like, what? You know, I was trying to understand myself. Like, I just didn't get it. And so I was dealing with all this stuff, and I never really felt like a victim, but I felt like because of the experiences that I had, that I wasn't good enough always. And so I had to get over that. I had to embrace those experiences as something that actually empowered me and gave me wisdom and strength that most people don't have. If you've experienced I don't even think that going through life without feeling a lot of trauma is actually a good thing necessarily, because to me, you miss out on depth. You miss out on a lot of wisdom. And maybe you've had so much in the previous life that this time you just said, okay, you know what? This is going to be smooth sailing. This is how I'm going to do it. So that part I get. But for me, I felt like I just rolled it all up into one lifetime. Like I must have had a lot of easy past lives, because it's like I just said, here it goes. Roll the dice. It's all happening now.
I think also, you know, what is distinctive about this time is that we are almost, you know, humanity is we're almost giving birth to ourselves, really, you know, as in giving birth to the truth of our nature through the most sort of intimate aspects of our experience. So in a way, this time is really about finding that new level of courage.
Yeah.
That new level of courage, because it takes a great deal of courage to face yourself, to be able to go inside, to really be able to feel, to really be able to acknowledge that that those feelings are worthy of being listened to, that are worthy of your awareness, your attention, your feeling, and that to have the courage to feel at that level, which is actually what strengthens the bond to the soul. So actually that's good in terms of what Lisa asked, but because actually the depth to which we are feeling our feelings or relating to ourselves is the depth to which we can experience love as well, because every wave of emotions that from our past or wherever that's coming from, because it can also be collective. But the courage to go there, to really go there in our own personal experience, to find the honesty to say, yes, that is what I feel. Yes, I am willing to feel those feelings, and to release them from my cellular body, because that is really working on a cellular level. And we're at a point in our evolution where we are not willing to continue in a conflictual, traumatic dynamic.
Yeah.
And so our freedom from that, because that goes through generations. That's just been generations and generations of warfare, conflict, trauma. You know, and trauma is inherited genetically. There's scientific evidence for that. But trauma, you know, love is also inherited. Self-love is also inherited genetically.
Yeah.
You know, empowerment is also inherited genetically, and that has nothing to do with time. So you may already have children, but your own healing, your own release of that trauma has a direct effect on your children, your parents, and your whole family line. So I think actually healing is radical. I think it's so revolutionary, and because that is where we're at, you know, where humanity is at. We are saying, no, we're not willing anymore to be defined, our relationships to be defined with codependency, conflict, trauma, need, and to step into something much more truthful of who we are, so that we can claim that for ourselves as and actually have that be what is defining our relationships, what is defining even our social relationships, or our politics. So it's it starts here. I mean, that's also what we were going to talk about, as in, you know, changing the world from the inside, but it really does start.
No, you're right. So I'm going to go to another person's question, because I know I'll forget these if I don't do this.
Yeah, and can I just answer the second half of Lisa Marie's, Patricia? Because, you know, she said about she felt resentful in this incarnation, and she's been angry for, she said she was angry at her soul for having to be here.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say that I really understand that too. That I really get that, because I, as I said, I think this is a courageous path. And I know for myself that when I made a commitment to living from the soul, to living by love, I had no idea what I was personally in for. And there was definitely a point, especially 2 years ago, where I was so done with it, and I really was on the point of giving up. And I did feel like it was a raw deal. I thought that it wasn't worth it. And I went through all those feelings of, you know, which is essentially the dark night of the soul. But you also get that on the soul path. You know, you think, wow, I've given so much, you know, I've really committed my whole life to this, and this is it, you know, the kind of experiences that you have in that, which can be also very isolating, because, you know, you have to walk away from what you have known in that. And
you don't get the reward from people. Like, you don't get you don't get a
medal or prize.
Like, oh, well done.
And you damn well should. So for all of you out there who've got who know what I'm talking about, I hereby give you an energetic medal. It is noted. So, and I know people are going through really such an intense time for living in this way. It's raw. It's you experience things in such an immediate way. And what I can say, having myself gone through a very dark time with it and really questioned it, that it really is worth it. And that these soul initiations where we do feel like we're giving up, they do precede a new level of freedom. And there is something on the other side of that. And it is worth it, because you are living, you know, you are claiming your own power. You are the one who directs it. You are the one who's choosing to live by love. And that will always be worth it, no matter what things look like right now. Because yes, you can lose relationships. You can lose friends. You can lose your job. And all these things that it can appear like you're losing everything. But believe me, you will be so thankful that you made this choice down the path. So please do stick to your heart. You will find the support you need. Life will support you through it. And sometimes it's actually about saying, for me, it was very much, you know, I had to look at what my own relationship to what I had chosen, and was there an element of sacrifice, of a sacrificial kind of residue that had come into it? Because as a mystic, there's a bit of conditioning around it, to be honest. And I really thought, hang on, no, I'm not here to sacrifice myself through this path of service. For me, service isn't about sacrifice. I renounce that.
Right.
And I'm going to choose the path of service. I'm going to find the support I need. Otherwise, I'm going to do it at my pace. So I had to make lots of changes to make it much more, so that I was being more supported in this, that my heart was being taken care of in the path of service.
Yeah.
And so that's why it often comes back to how we are serving ourselves on the deepest level, how we're serving our hearts, how we're relating to ourselves, and having things constantly grow from that place.
Yeah.
And that's why self-care is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when resentment comes into it, there's something out of balance. Resentment is often when resentment comes out when you're giving out more than you're receiving.
There you go.
It's like resentment is always a sign of that. It's like give, and you're not, and you are being neglected in that. And actually, true service isn't about that.
And so you're neglecting yourself, because no one can fulfill that really but yourself. You have to make sure that you give attention to yourself. And for you guys that don't know this, Emma was, prior to doing this, she was like the cool rocker chick. She was a man that traveled all throughout Europe singing and traveling. She was a freestyling hippie girl.
Well, I didn't do that much traveling. I didn't get that far with this career, guys and gals. But anyway, I was a rock singer. That is true.
Yeah. Oh, your mom told a whole different story then.
My mum's probably embellished it a bit. Oh, well, I was living abroad. I was living abroad a lot when I was singing. Yes.
Yeah. She said,
I'll be having words with my mum about this. She was like, did she say I was famous too?
No, she just said that that was the person that you were always carefree. So now let's go to this. Let's go to twin flames, because that was one of the questions that was asked. And I have talked about this so much that I have nothing left to say almost. But the question is, what is your take on the soul connection? I have been dealing with my inner process for quite some time. My twin, we are not in contact now, although we are from our heart soul space, seems to start this inner process recently. I know from others who are also aware of their twin and are dealing for quite some time with their inner process, experienced to have a twin flame who are recently dealing with change, starting the inner process. Is this related to the energies we are dealing with now? Thank you in advance. Much love. So, I mean, everybody is looking for that twin flame. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's really great that I got this question. I've never been asked about twin flames before, not even in my sessions. I think maybe once or twice, so it's really interesting. You probably know more about this subject than me. But anyway, I actually I asked my soul about this afternoon because I knew this question was coming. So it's interesting for me. And so the twin flame does exist. This phenomenon, it does exist for me. And what it means is that, you can have soul connections with pretty much everyone when you see the beauty of their soul. I mean, once you can see soul, you can see everyone's beauty, regardless of how badly that person is behaving. You can still see it, right?
Yes.
So you can have a really powerful soul connection with a lot of people. But the difference with a twin flame is that their life, their soul path is truly complementary to yours. So what it means is that you're here to share a path, or not necessarily to share a path, but that your paths are absolutely complementary. Yeah. And it's like when that person comes into your life, they're really meant to be there, not just because of the love and the connection, but because you have a shared vision and a focus, and that it's just totally right for you to walk alongside each other. And that's very different. What you'll find is that is the true nature of the love between you. Oh, I'm really feeling this as I say it. So that's very different from from a soul connection, which is this, wow, I'm in love with that person, but it can really be hard to keep it together, because once you've made a commitment to your own freedom or soul path, relating in that way can get harder, because if that person hasn't also made that commitment, then it will be quite uncomfortable for them to be in your space. So you can have these amazing, I mean, what I've experienced myself a lot, and what I've seen in others, is they can have these amazing heart connections, soul connections, but it's just that person is not even interested in sharing the path, or there's something that really is not, can be even working against the path. The connection itself can be an obstacle to both parties.
Yes, and sometimes from what I've experienced, and the only way that's all I can go from is my own experience, is that it's not necessarily something that's going to be in your life through your entire process. It's something that you experience that is actually going to, for me, it was something that I experienced that created a better version of who I am. That's the only way that in this incarnation, it pushed me to the next level of questioning myself and who I am and why I'm here. And so it was just a divine, intentional time that we crossed paths for this to happen. And it held us both into different directions. But it was huge to both of us. So, for David, my husband, he's not what I would call my twin flame, but he's my life partner. He is my soul connection. He is the person that I see myself going through life with, no matter what. And my twin flame was like an aspect of myself. In another being that was teaching me about myself and teaching me something that was so important to know about myself in this life. Yes,
it's a very distinctive relationship that's pure equality, that there's a distinctive soul resonance. And from what I've heard, because I haven't personally experienced this, but from what I've heard, there's no drama, or there's there's disagreements, but it's not like there aren't big, massive dramas involved in it, like you do get with a lot of soul connections or karmic soul connections, for example.
It's like it's an unexplainable. You have the everyday things that happen in this world, of course, but it's like something that you can't really put into words as far as the love you feel. You really can't, because it's like, it's the first time that, here's what I will say. It's the first time that if you could actually love yourself, the love that you give that twin flame is the love that you actually have for yourself.
When it's not
distorted.
And I, just to answer that question as well, a bit more about, Merjam says about dealing with her inner process. And she says that her twin is not in contact with her, although we are from heart soul space. And she says that he seems to have started this inner process recently. I think inner process, by that, does that mean healing, or do you think, Patricia?
Well, here's one of the problems that I've heard. I don't want to say problems, but one of the conflicts that people are having with those that they feel are the twin flames, that it's almost like they're chasing this relationship. And so what happens is they say, this is my twin flame, although that person doesn't see it. They don't recognize it. I see it. I recognize it. And they're kind of waiting.
Yeah.
That they're going to be brought back together. I don't know if that's true or false.
Yeah.
For me,
yeah.
I don't know how to look at that, because I don't want to discredit what someone's feeling.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's why I don't work with the concept too much, because I have so much respect for all kinds of relationships. Yeah. You know, even for me, some of the most sacred soul connections are platonic ones, that with people that you're working with on a shared vision, or with children, or you know, there's and even, like you say, with life partnership, which is something that is also a soul connection. And also, so I don't have so much a hierarchical perspective of this, because I think that if a twin flame comes into your life, that's fantastic, because it's like just stepping together up together and supporting each other's growth in that way. Mm-hmm. And I can see what Mirjam means by the inner process, because I think, you know, in order to really benefit from that connection, you would need to really know yourself as whole. Mm-hmm. And there would need to be quite a lot of self-love there in order to be able to relate on that level. Yeah. And if not, a huge willingness to go there. Yeah. And that's very different from someone saying, oh, but he's my twin flame, but he doesn't know it. No, he's not willing actually to have that kind of relationship, or he's not ready for it yet. So that's what I've seen a lot with twin flames, when people have been so wanting to have one. Mm-hmm. But I think if Mirjam is connecting to this soul, and then that person is actually out there, and you know, and then that's interesting that she sees him as starting this process, so that when they actually meet, they'll both be ready for each other. Because I think there's a reason. I really trust timing in life.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, and I think if we are single, that is about developing a deeper love with ourselves. Mm-hmm. So that we can have all sorts of relationships, but those relationships will be one of equality, where we're not making compromises, because love doesn't ever demand that. Right. We make compromises on a heart level. Sure, we make compromises, but in terms of our soul path and the level of commitment that we are called for, sometimes we really need to have that relationship with ourselves and fortify that, and especially at a time where we're redefining relationships based on love. Mm-hmm. And that does require a level of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. and what Mirjam calls in a process to be able to have that relationship with yourself. Yes. Mm-hmm. Or, as I said, you could connect to a twin flame, and you would learn that process through each other. You would learn how to learn the self through each other. But again, both of you, those parties, would be willing to take that next step. Yeah, there's a deep pain in the twin flame relationship. There's a very deep pain, especially when you don't have that connection. Like for those that feel very strongly that they know who their twin flame is and they want that relationship, there is a really deep pain associated with that. I have a lot of empathy for that. But I also say, please don't let that take over your life to the point that you can enjoy every day. Yeah, because also that there's like a certain amount of romanticism wrapped up with that. Like, it's a bit like, oh, it's getting mixed up with the knight in shining armor. He's going to turn up and he's just going to make everything okay. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. No, we know the real ending to that story, don't we? Hey, and everybody listening, if you have questions, make sure you let us know, because this isn't closed off to you. If you have questions, you can come on. In fact, everybody can put their video on if they want to and ask questions.
So, okay, we have one more question here for Margaret. From Margaret, let me see. Okay, Margaret.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, Patricia, just had something more to say about relationships
Okay,
before
sure.
we go on. That I want to share with everyone, because there's been so much focus on relationships in the last couple of weeks, and you and I were having this conversation. I just want to say to everyone that's been experiencing this, that the relationship dynamic, between men and women especially, is really being a lot of distorted energy around that, which includes romanticism. I'm a big romantic, so I'm not saying that romanticism is wrong, but it's not necessarily the truth. That energetically it's connected with seduction, and it can be quite an artificial expression of love. It's not really what love is. And people can get hooked into these romantic ideas, including, twin flames, but and really overlook what's going on with this dynamic, because they have such an incredible connection with this person. So what's been happening is a lot of relationship conditioning has been forced to the surface over the last few weeks, and will continue to do so over the next few days. And that's a lot of that is around men connecting to their hearts, and just the challenge that they experience in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And just distorted forms of relating, like codependency, which are becoming increasingly unsustainable. It takes a lot of energy to hold on to a relationship that's really working against you, that isn't genuinely loving. So that's why I'm saying to have a lot of trust that we're going through so much change at the moment, that the relationship is bound, that if you're in a relationship, it's bound to change with the changes that you're going through. So often the significant other needs to be included, or people are evolving at different speeds, and there's no that doesn't mean anyone's better or worse, because there can also be, in this community, quite a lot of almost snobism around consciousness. The point is, somebody is where they're at, right? That's where they are right now, and they need to be respected in that space. And that doesn't mean that you have to continue operating on that level to make them feel comfortable, but you can find ways to include them if they're willing. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole new way of communicating and relating that's coming through right now. So just bear with it.
Oh yeah. See, I shared with Emma this week, because she said, Patricia, she reached out to me and she was like, it's rare that this happens to me, that I just feel like I have to go and, ask someone, I think, like, how are you okay? I was having just a horrible day. My husband is very much a matrixy kind of guy, and I'm all about being spiritual and connecting to myself and emotions and all that. And he's like, no, but he's actually very affectionate, very loving and sweet, but he tries to hide it somewhat. And then he doesn't want to go and do his own inner work, just to put it out there. And I'm throwing you under the bus again. So he doesn't want to do that. And so that's kind of like a conflict for us. And he was just being the biggest baby. He was projecting all of his insecurities and everything that was going on with him onto me. And one of the things that I realized is that, like I've changed how I am in our relationship. I'm all of a sudden going public. I'm doing interviews. I'm doing sessions. All this time that he's used to having from me is not given to him. So it's going in other places. And he's so supportive, but he's also like, what about me? What about me? And I actually, when he did this, what was so funny was I had like 4 days with nothing scheduled, and it was all about him. And so when it became about him, it was like, it wasn't enough. And I thought this was really interesting, because if I was busy, he wouldn't be doing this. But now he's got my full attention. Now he's whining. And it was so funny. And so when I was talking with Emma, she started talking about what was going on with the planets and how that affected our relationship. I would love for you to share what you shared with me about the planetary alignment that's creating this.
Yeah, well, I just noticed that both Mars and Venus, so Mars and Venus are the relating planets, Mars relating to the masculine, Venus to the feminine. Venus is also the planet of love and relating. So both of them have been really affected in the last couple of weeks by Pluto and Saturn, which are very, Pluto is hugely revealing, and it tends to bring out what we keep hidden because we don't want to see it. So a lot of the darker aspects of relating were surfacing, or what we put up with because we want to stay in a relationship, maybe, or how controlling aspects of relating. And that was also Mars was in opposition with Saturn. So again, the masculine aspect was really coming under the energy of Saturn, which is a testing energy. So both these planets were just throwing the relationships dynamic into the forefront, really, of our experience, for us to address some distorted, I would say, controlling aspects, or however that was experienced. Even heartbreak, it can be past heartbreak that needed healing, or whatever it is in your sphere that's the relationship aspects, basically, of your own nature. So that has been highlighted. And then today Mars is square Chiron, and again Chiron is the wounded healer. So there's more. I sense quite a lot of healing, particularly of the masculine heart, taking place. And you and I both talked about that too, Patricia, that men were stepping into a more emotional space, and that was really challenging for them, given the kind of conditioning that they have around it, and so that they were finding new levels of courage and to go inside.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what I love about Gav. He goes there.
Yeah, Gav. Thank you.
Yeah, he does. Okay, so let's go back into Margaret's question. And then remember, if anyone has a question, feel free to ask. Just let us know and unmute yourself, and you can ask your question.
I guess I do. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay, yeah, you go first.
Hi, ladies.
Hi there. What's your name? Holly?
I'm Holly, yeah.
Hi, Holly. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying the chat so far, and I guess I'm touching on the current topic right now, of this kind of relationship and allowing your partner to develop himself. I guess I was really smiling, Patricia, what you're saying about your husband. I just got married, and my husband, he's the yin to my yang. I'm very spiritual, and I'm growing so fast. Every day I notice changes, and I'm just astounded at myself and what I'm achieving already. Mm-hmm. And my husband, he's completely opposite. He's not spiritual at all. He doesn't believe in God. Obviously there isn't one, really, right? I mean, there's the creator, but there's not, you know.
We get you. We understand what you're saying.
And so he's basically on the path of saying, okay, well, when I die, I just die, and that's it. He doesn't know that he is eternal. I'm trying to encourage him to say, really think about it. And what I think I need to do is just to let it be and give him space to have his soul journey, because I can't really influence where he's at, and I just have to trust that his soul is going to guide him to where he needs to be, right? I mean, we're in this together, but it's like he's my life partner. And we're so opposite, and I'm like, well, you picked me, I picked him,
Yeah, I really get it, and I feel your frustration. I mean, I've experienced that, and I too, and I think it's what you just said. it's being able to really respect his experience. And one thing has been a huge lesson for me, and that is you are not responsible for anybody else's soul journey. It doesn't matter how much you love them. It's nothing to do with you. And when you're in a love, you know, particularly in a marriage, that can be quite something to get out of their space in that way. I'm speaking to myself in this because it's been, you know, a big deal when you're having these incredible experiences of amazing mystical breakthroughs and everything, and you really want to share it with them. But yeah.
But what I love about him is that he allows me the space to be me and discover myself and what I'm doing. He's like, okay, great.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't talk to him about it, and that's really hard to me because I want to share with him this part of myself, but he just thinks I'm on like Planet Z. He's like, okay, Holly, sure.
But Holly, let me say this to you. My husband is very aware. He's very spiritual. He's all of those things. He just doesn't let you see that. And the fact that your husband is allowing that space for you means he's paying attention. If he was really opposed to you, you'd be having hell in your house.
I think I sense, like Patricia, I think he's taking in a lot more than he's making out. You know, I think he's listening to you more than he's letting on.
I just try to incorporate in my life what I'm learning, you know, but we'll see. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you for sharing. That's great what you're doing as well.
Yeah. Come on, Gab, I know you have something to say.
in small talk, don't force the issue.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was just going to say, I was really intrigued by Emma's eloquent way in which she portrayed her truth. I couldn't, you know, I'm like pulling things apart. I was sitting there going, this is very similar to my dumb version of what I think.
Is that a compliment?
That's the best humor y'all gonna have to explain.
No, I don't do compliments. I do both ends of the scale, so, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't get British humor. Was that good or bad?
What are you asking, Mama? If it was a compliment or not?
Yeah.
You know I don't do them. I just say what I see. If it goes down well, great. If it doesn't, oh well.
Well, I'm saying, was it good or bad?
Well, I like, well, I don't know. You can look at it from two angles. I like to pull things apart. So there was no challenge. So in that sense, no. But to hear it, the way it was put across is obviously stations above my way of expressing. But yeah, it's good. Okay.
Thanks, Gav. How can I challenge you? Now I want to challenge you.
Yeah, challenge him.
Lead the way. Ladies first.
Well, do you have a question?
That's just it. I've got nothing. What you said before, I was trying to get hold of something to pickaxe. I'm terrible. And I couldn't. There was nothing really there for me to have a go at.
Oh, that's good. That's good, Emma. That means it was good.
From a biased point of view, yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you think of anything, Gav, let us know. Okay. So Margaret says, I've been wondering for a while. Oh, go ahead. Did you have something?
No, I said, you know, I only get louder, so carry on.
Oh. I have been wondering for a while now about authenticity of astrology. Has it been interfered with, as the planets have been interfered by synthetic powers, the moon, Saturn, Mars, etc.? Do they give off false vibrations? So she's wanting to know, with all the manipulation that's going on the planet and in the solar system, have the planets been affected in a way that they're not, just like we have, I guess we also have a problem with being authentic. Are the planets experiencing the same thing?
Well, that's exactly how I see that. Because I see each planet as having a soul, and I see them in a way dealing with corruption the way that we all are, because our nature has been interfered with, their nature has been interfered with. So it's how we use our awareness to move beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having a very intimate relationship with the solar system. So with all the planets, and I don't see this as being different because they're being interfered with, in the same way as that it's not different just because we have distorted aspects of our own nature playing out within our own experience.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if anything, the relationship with the planets is mutually supportive of each of our liberation.
Mm-hmm.
So even the worst aspects, I mean, one thing I really learned as an astrologer, because, you know, at a certain point, yes, astrology has its limitations, and I particularly, you know, we're so much more than our natal chart, but it is a good roadmap. It's a bit like a roadmap can't substitute the landscape, but it's handy to have one, and it was very handy for me at the beginning when I started out. But one thing that I find really helpful and empowering is the cycles of time that's defined by planetary cycles as they play out in your life. It's been hugely helpful for me, and even as an astrologer, when I started out, and you'd have the worst astrological aspects like Pluto, and people would be really in a lot of pain and going through big crisis in their life. But even Pluto in a way was on their side. You see that in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
And you could, as an astrologer, you could see that too. You could see that what they were going through was going to bring about something that was much more authentic for them in the future. But right now they were going through a huge crisis that was ultimately going to lead to their empowerment, should they choose to, because some people can just get lost in that.
Mm-hmm.
But should they choose to, they can, through the complete annihilation of their identity, which is what we all experience.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in our life, they can choose to grow through that and find something stronger within themselves that's really going to define the next stage in their life, and also give them new freedoms that they'd never experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that every single planetary influence is beneficial, even though nobody enjoys Saturn. It's really unpleasant to have all your points of weakness, as in where you're willing to compromise in your life. Mm-hmm. Or where you're willing to sell your soul, even.
There you go. Yeah.
For the sake of some little fear in you. It's really not enjoyable to be shown yourself through a Saturn light, what Saturn brings to your awareness. But when you know that it's Saturn, it's really helpful, and you're engaging with it. Saturn can be the most liberating influence of the solar system.
Yeah, Saturn, Gav, Saturn is the entity that tries to project itself as creator of all. Like, it is the shizzle.
Yeah.
And it really seeks worship and admiration, and it's very egotistical, but it's also with that comes a lot of fear. And
well, Saturn triggers your fears.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, the way that, because I actually have a memory of being a planet, and so that's when it really became, I mean, I already kind of knew that everything was living, that exists.
Was it Uranus? Sorry.
I was Venus.
Terrible. Unbelievable.
I was Venus. You know, you do know, I mean, people here probably don't know this, but in the scriptures, the one that everyone calls Lucifer is actually referring to the planet Venus, because Venus is the bright morning star. Venus is the planet that is still shining when the sun comes up. So that the reason that was like in the scriptures, when it's like, oh, you know, Lucifer, you bright morning star, like you try to overshadow everything, but then the sun comes up and basically the sun takes you down. So that's, everyone associates Lucifer with a masculine satanic figure, but it's actually the female Venus planet of the, how funny is that? But anyway, no, I'm Venus.
So you have a memory of that. Yeah. So
no, I don't have a memory of being Venus, but I have a memory of being a planet. And so what happened was, I was being funny with Gab when I did that, but I remember being a planet, and I remember it wasn't at a time when we were in disharmony. It wasn't this feeling of separation and division like what we have now. It was actually, it was all of us, the stars, the planets, everything was in enflowment. And that's when I understood that everything is harmonics and frequency and vibration, and that we are musical. We're all, even if we can't, like today, we can't sing and sound like we can sing anything, but our essence, our being, everything that we say in words is a song. It's musical. It's powerful. And so I remember our movement, just us being in alignment and moving, we were creating like what people would call the Holy Spirit. That's kind of what I would feel like. We were the Spirit. It was like that in the movement. And that movement was creating this vibration, and that vibration was creating a melody. And I was like, wow. Yeah, go ahead.
So was that memory in visual form or something else?
A memory in visual form, not a dream, it was a memory in visual form. And
that's forever.
Yeah, and so I was just like, wow. Wow. I mean, it was, I'd never experienced anything like that, but I was opening that's when I started opening my heart up, you know, and I realized every time I was trying to do something from the head, I was going nowhere. Because in the head, that's where all the programming is. That's where all the disconnect, the distortion, everything exists. So from not your heart, like the thumping heartbeat, but just your heart, your essence of being. When you go into that energy and you tune into that, that's when you start to have memories and awareness that you can start to connect everything together.
Yeah, because we are the universe.
Yeah.
So and actually astrology can bring you back to that. Once you recognize certain planetary vibrations, you can just sense it when you see someone, what they're going, what planetary transits they've got.
Yeah.
Because like you say, it's vibrational. And so many astrologers are ex-musicians. So which is really interesting because it is a musical language. It's a vibrational language.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that I've really become aware of. Like, I am obsessed, everyone. That's just beautiful. That's 432 hertz. That's the sound of the universe. And some things you hear high pitched, you're like, and this is really high pitched, but it's so perfect. It's just creates this loving feeling of just who I am. Like, I love it.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Huh?
You caught me unaware.
In your underwear again?
Unaware.
All right. Okay. So here's what I would like to close with today, because Emma, I think we could do this so many times throughout the year.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Let's talk about this. Love. What does it mean when we live by love?
Yeah, that's a question I've been asking myself for many years, and it's again, it's not something that you can work out mentally. It is a commitment to love, as in your soul vibration guiding the unfolding of your life and making the choice making choices that serve love, making choices that serve you, making choices that support your soul's essence in this incarnation. Because also energetically, our relationships, our work, our everything in our lives is either supporting us on that level or depleting us. So and it takes quite something to walk away from habitual forms of energetic compromise to make genuinely loving choices. And that again will take us into very unknown territory. There's so many surprises in the choice to live by love, because you really don't know what's around the corner, whereas when you're living in fear, you do. And there's a predictability around that. So that's why a lot of people still stay in that dynamic, because they know what they're going to get. Whereas when you commit to love, you really don't know. You're living by faith in your own nature, and you're aiming a lot higher because of that, because there's love. When we're connecting to the love of our own nature, there is a pathway presented to us, a strong, urgent sense of what we're here to do, or what would bring us joy. So it's also being able to commit to joy, to choosing that, knowing that that itself is serving the world. So living by love is how we support love in our experiences, how we make loving choices in our relationships, in our work, and that always brings about great transformation. So living by love, as I was saying earlier, when I made that choice, it certainly didn't take me where I thought it was going to. I experienced actually a lot of heartbreak when I made that commitment initially, because I realized that what I thought was love was actually giving away my power. Because I thought that love meant doing everything for everybody else. And I was experiencing, I was getting really drained. I was getting physically very ill. So it was a long journey to find out what that meant. And it's still something that's unfolding in my experience. So how about you?
You know, I think it's really interesting, because when I made the choice to live by love, I put down expectations. I let go of expectations. I let go of trying to control everything, because I was a huge control freak, just because of the way that I grew up and all the things that, you know, all the ways that I felt very limited as a kid and unable to express and be. When I became an adult, it was all about empowerment. Like, I'm going to be in control. No one's going to tell me what to do. No one's going to own me. No one's going to do this, you know, whatever. And so I created my own reality of protected Patricia, the survivalist. And that wasn't really coming from a place of love. That was just fear, rejection, abandonment, and all those type of things. And so once I really started living from a place of love, I was able to say, it doesn't matter if I'm rejected. It doesn't matter if someone hurts me. It doesn't matter if I feel let down. None of that matters, because I'm choosing to live by love. And that doesn't require a response from anyone else.
Mm.
It's just who I will be,
and
who I am. And so that kind of throws people off too, because they're kind of looking for the pushback. They're kind of looking for the drama and the entanglement of the battle and all that kind of stuff. So when you, it's really interesting, because you're really, when you choose to live by love, you're challenged more so, because people are expecting something different from you. And when they don't get that, you get a lot of flack back at you. And so you still have to, if you're going to live by love, you're going to accept that, and you're still not going to give them what they're looking for in the retaliation, right?
Yes, yeah. It really is making that commitment to really listen and walk free from those dynamics that are keeping us in conflict. But also being able to hold your ground.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you actually have to stand up for love. And a lot of my challenges have been, how much are you willing to stand up for love in this situation, which has taken a lot of it. It's been far from passive. It's been really holding my ground, stepping into the space, stepping up, communicating communicating from the heart in situations where it was not welcomed. And so I feel, in my personal path, that actually standing up for love is really important. Standing up for something that can't be seen, and that a lot of people don't even recognize or understand why you're acting the way you are, but you do, because you're upholding love in the center of your experience. And that again is it's taken a lot of courage on my part, but it's also given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. And I'm really beginning to see, I've seen for a few years, it's been everything that my initial vision even of running retreats, it just it sort of surpassed what I ever dreamed when I started running retreats in Glastonbury. And now I run them every year, but at a level I never ever thought that I would. And my initial vision of that was the first time I really brought sort of like a soul vision, and actually went about manifesting that and committing to that. And after 7 years, something happened. It was after I'd given up on it, actually. I'd sort of let go on trying to bring that into being. And when I let go of it, it actually just came back into my life at a scale that I never dreamed possible. It even exceeded my initial vision. So it is I think living by love does take your life into extraordinary dimensions. It is how we create our own freedom for ourselves in this way. But it's even in my own experience, I still sometimes tend to have an instinctive reaction to override love occasionally, when even with in friendships or working associations that don't feel quite in alignment, I still have to find something for speaking up for what I feel is being neglected in the space. And I've for years, it's been not just about what it takes to stand up for love, but also to hold something sacred, to bring the sacred into the world in a way where you're really respecting that, and you are holding that for others that really need to access that in their experience.
Yeah, I can be honest with myself and seeing who I am when I'm not living from a place of love. And if I'm not living from a place of love, then I am controlling. I can be a little bitter because of the things that I've experienced. And if I would look at the things that I've created in life and the things that where I might feel like I should be at a certain place and I'm not there, I can go into all these different things and start to feel when I'm out of a loving space.
Yeah.
When I'm not loving, when I'm not coming from a place of love, then I go right back into a place of judgment and condemnation and, all the things that are in opposition to love. And it doesn't mean, you're going to see other shows that I do that are completely different from this. It's going to be talking about, extraterrestrials and talking about, what the government does and all these things. And I'm very aware of those things. And the reason I like to talk about them is not to create fear in people, but just okay, this is what it is. So instead of being afraid of it, let's empower ourselves to know what's there. And then let's hold a space of love. So that's what I've really come to be aware of. I can it's really easy when you're in a relationship with another person to step out of love. I mean, go, in all kinds of directions. So every time someone's always talking about, like, I really wish I had a relationship, and I've told them this so many times, I'm like, you don't want a relationship, really, you're there, but it's like you have to put so much attention into that, and it really challenges you on every level to prove that you're going to walk your talk, and so
I think it takes so much trust in what you know of love to live by love.
Yeah,
because often you'll be in place. Well, why would you go to bother? Why would you bother to change the structure of that? It doesn't mean anything, but in your heart, that love is being compromised in this environment, or that people are being even abused.
Yeah,
in a certain circumstances, but it's like, but it isn't presented that way. But in your heart, that it's out, that it isn't working, that it's not. That it's out of alignment with your values, but that you're some way participating in that. So taking that step to stand up for love in your own experience, I think, for me personally, is how I have addressed all the personal interference that I've experienced.
Yeah, I agree.
And just not giving it a choice as well.
And for me, after experiencing what it's like to live from love, if you ever allow yourself to go out of that, for me personally, I'm automatically like, this isn't a way to live for me. Once you've experienced what it's like to let go of all that, you don't want to go back there. You might get caught up in a situation and find yourself there, and you're like, whoa, no, this is not me. That's not you.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's why it's so important that people come to know themselves as love, because the very essence of who they are is love. And that's not something you can have a mental or an intellectual understanding of that, and it sounds nice, but it is the reality of every single human. So that's why I'm so passionate about supporting people to know themselves in that way, to explore themselves in that way, to support themselves in their experience with that connection, to allow themselves to be empowered and guided by that connection. And we'll be looking at we will be looking at a very different world, starting there, right there. Yeah, because love it is, I was thinking about this today, it isn't, that's why emotional connection is so important right now, because, love is feeling, love is a feeling, it's so much more than that, but love is experienced. It's not just a concept, and it isn't just a bond of dependency or control. It's something very different, and we have so much more to learn from love itself, in the most intimate aspects of our experience.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, you can ask now. If not, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye today, and we will do this again because this has been so much fun.
Oh, it has. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a blast. It's so always good to speak to you.
And you too. Any questions, anyone?
Oh, go on then.
You've got
Just
one?
Found one.
Yeah. You said earlier that you believe that planets had souls as well.
Yeah.
So do you see it? You see it as maybe a limited amount of souls per reality or experience? And if so, what do you see as being in the space between?
Can you say that again?
referring back to your comment about planets having souls.
Yeah.
Right. So would you see it as a limited amount of souls in a given reality or experience? And if so, what do you see is in the space in between?
Okay, well, I see every single living being as having a soul. Every organic living being as having a soul.
And everything else is just...
I mean, even inanimate objects actually have souls, but if they're organic, they have a soul. Like a rock, for example, I see that has a soul.
Okay, so
yeah.
So you do see it as limited amount that's kind of separate, or just see it as saturated?
Hey, Gav.
In water.
Gav, you're breaking up. Take your phone. You're breaking up. Take your phone and put it closer to you. You're breaking up.
Hold on. I'm trying to take David up to the window.
You didn't break up until you asked a question, so it must need to be said. Go ahead.
I don't understand it. Hold on. Is it any better there? Is it any better?
I think so.
How far did you hear me to?
It got up to, was that a limited number or something? You just started on that part of the question.
Yeah, so with the planets and the objects, you see them having souls. So would that be a limited amount of souls per reality? And if so, if it is limited and not fully saturated, like a sponge full of water, then what's in between?
Okay, well, you've got some souls that are incarnated and some on our sort of physical reality, and some that are not incarnated. Okay. So some souls are incarnated as humans, as animals, as trees. Some souls are incarnated as planets or stars. So that is all to do with the soul's journey. So the vibration is what's pulling it into incarnation. So it can't be saturated, because this process is one of transformation and constantly becoming something else. But the soul in itself is eternal. So there's an infinite number of souls.
Right. Okay.
Okay. There's an infinite number of souls, and they're flowing into different forms and different incarnations. Because they are embodying the process of evolution itself. So it's like what we're doing as incarnating, we're bringing soul substance into incarnation. So we're transforming the planet by bringing the love from our souls into form, into physical form. So we're sort of infusing the planet with that, and that is facilitating the planet itself and the solar system and the universe to evolve in the way that the universal soul is guiding it, which we are all connected to. Because when you connect to your soul, you're connected to all souls, and you actually experience that, don't you, Patricia? It's like when you have that connection, you can feel all the souls, all soul. Even though the interesting thing is that each soul is incredibly unique. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're all one in that space. We're actually able to feel everything and experience everything, but through almost the uniqueness of our soul signature. So we have this eternal stream. And so it can't be saturated, because there's infinite capacity.
And she, in a roundabout way, answered your question that you didn't come out and ask.
Does that answer your question?
No, I know what he was going for, and you actually answered it, and he didn't know you were going to go there.
Oh.
I won't blow his cover. I'll tell you after the fact. I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay. Well, does that answer your question, Gav?
No, that's secrecy. You get it out now.
Okay, his major question to our reality is there one creator, and we're all an extension of one creator? Are we all infinite beings? And I've always said to him that my perception from what I've experienced is that we're all infinite beings that have co-created the reality. And for him, that's chaos.
Oh, okay.
And so so we go back and forth on this, and he's looking for someone to prove me wrong, I think.
Well, I don't see the two things as being separate.
Uh-oh.
I don't. Like I see because we're all completely in alignment on a soul level with creation itself, which is infinite.
That was another one, actually. Remember the signature you said?
Sorry?
Remember the soul signature you mentioned?
Yes.
So would that suggest the unfolding of the path?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, yes.
Obviously, each one's individual and unique, but in terms of cause and effect, is that running through the whole signature?
Yes, it's like, it's the energy of your soul is what you're already contributing to life itself. It's like, oh, when you walk in the room, like the Gab, you know, it's not just your personality or something, it's actually who you are, that energy itself, which is unique to you, that people respond to. And when you're so say your highest dream, say the thing that most excites you about being alive, that is your soul speaking through you. That is your soul expressing yourself through you, because the soul is joyful, and it's loving, and it's also very creative. So, you know, when you just have the ideas but you don't know where they come from, because, you know, they don't just come from your little brain. They're feeding through. I mean, not saying that your brain's little, but the visions that we have, it's like what we most want to do with our lives, that comes from the soul. And we know that that's different from, say, an ego vision, which will be about needing validation or needing recognition for the sake of it, because of what's something that's missing with us. So the soul path is more about what I would love to do, what would bring me most fulfillment, that I can share with others. And you can feel just that one has a freedom associated with it. Does that help?
Yeah. On your path topic earlier, I think you said something along the lines of you're exactly where you're supposed to be, or things are exactly as they're supposed to be.
I don't
Remember?
think I did say that.
Something similar.
I said I trust timing.
Was that it?
I trust timing. I don't think we're all exactly where we're meant to be. No, I think we often need to be somewhere else. I actually think we need. Well, I mean, look, we're in the perfect place to make the changes we need to make in our lives. Yes.
What, at every given moment?
Yes.
Well, then that suggests that we are exactly where we're supposed to be at every given moment.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that that's where we're meant to be. That is the best place for us.
Oh no! In terms of where we're heading, no. But at the actual, in the given moment.
Yes. Yeah, I really trust that. You know, but we can make choices to always position ourselves in a way that gives us more and gives others more. I don't think we need to put up with stuff in any way, be it physically or emotionally. So I'm sort of quite reluctant to answer those questions sometimes, because I know that people put up with all sorts of relationships because they're going, I'm in just the right place that I need to be. So, and I'm saying, no, you really actually need to take a big leap here. So, but yes, they are in the exactly right place to make that choice to change their reality. And I think there are, the process of consciousness is not passive. We have the choice to change our reality. We can do it in any given moment.
Yeah, that's a yes and no. Because yes, you're always where you're supposed to be, but that where you are is also a lesson that's propelling you to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll go with that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So it's no. It's yes and no. But yeah.
Get off that fence.
Yeah, that's why I think I'm more and more reluctant to talk about these things in terms of blanket truths, and why I very much talking to individuals, because it's so unique depending on that soul path. So for one person, they could say, I'm exactly where I need to be, and they're using that to justify something that's really not doing them any good. Mm-hmm. And then another person could be, I'm just where I need to be, and that is just where they need to be right now. And there's that is truly serving them. So I think more the question for me, is it serving you to be where you are right now?
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So it's where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
See, I'm Mr. Determinism, so you can guess.
No, see,
yeah, sure.
Gav has a lot of questions, and he's got a really big heart. But I will say to Gav, and I may have said this to him before, he really is in a headspace, and he's got a huge heart, but he goes to his head for his answers instead of his heart. And once he gets to where he can bring the two together, he's going to get it. You're going to get it.
So
yeah.
So I think I spoke over you a little bit.
No, you froze.
Did I?
Yeah, you froze. We didn't hear you.
Oh, right, okay. Again. Yeah, I try and... Yeah, the headspace isn't necessarily chaotic. It's more inquisitive, but I think if the heart and mind are supported... Well, the mind supports the heart as such. I think it helps flow much better. So I'm not complete... Mama, you're painting a picture of me being a nutter.
No. I can feel.
No,
I
think you're amazing. I think you're unique and a breath of fresh air for your generation. You're the age of my kids. I think you're
I'm probably a lot older than your kids.
Not that much older.
Your kids are like in their 20s.
Almost 30.
Oh, almost 40.
Oh, I thought you were younger than that.
No, going on 12.
With the missing hair.
Physically, I'm 37. Mentally, I don't know.
For some reason, I thought you were the age of my kids. I guess because you call me mama.
Probably.
Yeah. So, no, I just feel like it's really refreshing to be talking with a man like this, because you don't get to have these kind of conversations with men often.
Yeah, very much so. And I think also the way I speak, it's to be experienced. So I know that some mental people get frustrated because it seems so simple, but actually I'm communicating from my heart soul, so people, just to create that experience more than having lots of intelligent information to share. But I really thanks for sticking with this, but thanks for sticking with it to have the experience. And like Patricia said, I can tell you have a big heart, and I really feel that for me the heart actually it's not about divorcing the head and the heart. It's about bringing them both together. And I think actually ultimately the heart informs the brain, not the other way around, actually. And it just can make life a lot simpler, because like the physical consciousness and the heart, the heart has a bigger magnetic field than the brain. So it's actually, it is much more powerful than the brain.
Mm-hmm. And the
in
heart
many
is
ways.
programmed.
You know,
The heart,
and the heart is very simple. I mean, in my sessions, I get this, like, people say to me, because I say, you know, I support people to talk to their heart, as you know, Patricia, and people say to me, I get this kind of lot, oh, that's so cliched. And I say, you know, and I say, yeah, but the heart is simple. You know, what the heart and how the heart communicates is very simple, in very simple ways. But that's also innocence, and innocence is a soul quality, and innocence is always there within us. And I also feel that's part of love, to support that, to support that innocence. And because the innocence is part of the soul, the innocence and the soul, you know, the inner child, which is also connected to our emotions, is connected to the soul. The inner child is almost like the guardian of the soul. So huh?
Is that why I can't grow up?
I think you're very grown up.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, you hung in for 2 hours, so you're doing good.
No, I don't mean that. Obviously, I'm persistent, but I meant as in maturity. Is that the right word?
You're very mature.
Very silly.
Well, silliness is a good quality. That's going to keep us all sane, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to laugh.
We need that. We need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Good for you.
Right. Okay, so any other questions? If not, we're going to say see you later.